Here with Concordia head volleyball coach Scott Mattera to preview the 2016 season, your fifth year here at Concordia already. Now that you've had a chance to step back a little bit from the 2015 season, just how much fun was that to see the hard work that everybody's put into the program the past few years kind of come into fruition with a national tournament?
Yeah. Well, the real reward is seeing the girls' work paid off. Sitting back and watching them realize that it was all worth it, and the joy that they were able to feel when the community got behind them so much, and you just kind of stand back as almost a proud parent, watching them, get what they've earned, and that was really cool to see that for the girls.
And I know the girls help a lot of different camps, and one of the things that went around a little bit on social media was one of the recent camps with Coach Cook from Nebraska. What do you think that meant to some of your players, and to hear him even take notice?
Yeah, well, Coach Cook and I go back a long ways. I met him, about 10, 15 years ago back in Ohio when he was recruiting some of our club kids, and he's always been really responsive to me and other young coaches and whatnot, and that's always meant a lot. He's a pretty classy guy that way, and for him to make a point to come up to our girls and tell them that he's had an eye on our program and the work they've been putting in, and they were kind of starstruck, and I kind of chuckled, and I know it meant a lot to them. It meant a lot to me too, and they're doing their thing, winning national championships at the D1 level and whatnot, and to know that we've been a blip on their radar too is letting our girls know that what they do does matter. So it was pretty cool.
You've got a good core group that's been around now for a few years. What can you say about just how they've developed as leaders and as players at Concordia?
Well, it's a group that was really the first class that I recruited. I was fortunate enough to have basically Coach Miller's recruiting class my first year, and they were amazing young ladies. But this class is the first ones that committed to the vision that the new staff was putting in, and their level of faith and belief in what we were doing has really pushed us to put in the long hours and put in all the extras, and so they had it from day one. They believed we were going to do this. They bought in before they even got here, and they'll never know how much that meant to me, that they bought in before they could even see the evidence of who we were going to be, and they've done nothing but make it great the last few years. And now I'm looking for them to not only be great players and people off the floor, but take on those leadership roles that they've been kind of evolving into over the last few years, and now there's a lot of room for them to step into those roles, and I'm really excited to see how they do that.
Any of them in particular, those seniors that we're talking about, Paige Getz, Elena Kavanaugh, Tegan Skanes, Taylor Workman, sure. Any of them in particular you really see have taken off and can have a big senior year?
Well, what's really interesting amongst the four of them is that they all lead in very different ways, and the combination of those four styles is really kind of cool. Elena's the organizer, and a little bit of the manager type gig, and Paige speaks up in the huddle and is kind of the pusher at times. Tegan tends to try to keep things fun, but will also come to me in private and say, hey coach, we need to look out for this and other things. And then Taylor's just the steadying influence on the ship. You always know what you're going to get from her, and she's always positive and just kind of keeps everything in check. And that's a really cool combination amongst those four. Over the course of the summer, it's been really interesting to see these young ladies that I got to know when they were 17 are now 21, 22 and doing all these adult things like having, full-time jobs and, taking on different responsibilities. And you're like, man, they are really growing up and they're really maturing, and I think you're going to see the benefits of that in their play and in the team this fall.
Maturing, but I know you also affectionately refer to them as nerds, some of the team.
Nerds, goofballs, goobers, yeah. That's
how does that dynamic make it at practice? I know you have to have times when you're serious and get things done, but I'm sure it makes coming to practice every day fun?
It really does. It really does, and it's part of our culture here, and I think it's carved out a pretty interesting niche for us. And when we have current recruits come and play with us, and they're kind of amazed by how loose we are, and sometimes how much we let them go. Just being nerds and goofballs and whatnot at practice, but we've got a group of young ladies that play better when they're looser and having fun. Sure, it's not puppy dog sunshine and ice cream cones all the time, but sometimes we have to rein it in, and that's kind of my job, is being the old codger there that brings it back in. But we do have one of those groups that plays better when they're laughing, that plays better when they're not, focused and dead on serious. And, so sometimes that rubs people the wrong way a little bit. And it's kind of funny that you kind of have to explain to them, no, this is who they are, and it's interesting as a coach trying to strike that balance of, can we be fiercely intense yet, smacking each other upside the head and making fun of each other all the time. And I think we're doing a pretty good job of finding that.
Now, the senior class last year had Claire White, and then I think a lot of players you would call role players.
Yep.
Who are some that maybe have a chance now to step in and fill some of those roles?
That's the $1 million question, isn't it? Obviously we got Jocelyn coming back as a passer, but Claire was another one of our primary passers, and then you look at Kendra and Kelsey and Katie and Libby and all of those passers that we graduated. So that's been the big focus all spring, is what is our first touch going to look like, both from the serve line and from the serve receive line. And we've got several players competing for those positions. We had some girls step up in the spring, and we've got some new kids coming in that are going to compete for those positions as well. So it's going to be very interesting. Obviously, Claire leaves a 6 rotation hole, and we've got a lot coming back across the front row. So it's really passing in that position, and some other kids that have been around for a couple of years will be pushing some of these seniors as well. So this is one of those years that we have legitimate depth at every position, and it's only going to make practices better.
You mentioned Jocelyn too, who's somebody who was ready to play right away when
Sure.
she came in as a freshman. How has she taken off, and where could she be as a junior now?
Yeah, obviously she got recognized last year as Region Libero of the Year, one of the best in the country, honorable mention All-American. And, as long as she can stay healthy, the sky's the limit for her. And, she's working her butt off and trying to get ready for this year. And over the course of the spring, she grew up a lot, and I was so proud of her in those areas of, understanding that her game isn't just hers, it's the team's, and she's such a valuable asset to who we are as a team, that her play and her hustle and her attitude really permeate throughout that back row, especially. And with having to welcome so many new people into the back row, whether they're returners or incoming freshmen, she's got to take them under her wing, and she's really starting to understand that, and it's really, really cool to see that. Jocelyn being such an amazing natural athlete and having such a great read of the game and be able to flow all over the court, her mix of understanding the discipline of the system that we play and then mixing the freedom to move all around the court is really where she's taken off this spring and into the summer.
Annie Friesen is another one who's going to be a junior this season. Made big strides from freshman to sophomore year. What do you attribute that rise to? Just maybe being comfortable as a college athlete? Yeah,
that actually, you hit the nail on the head with that. Obviously she came in with a pretty good resume from high school, and obviously being 6'2", solid athlete, moves laterally well, and gets off the floor pretty well. She was pretty ready to go physically, the day she walked on campus. Now adding in, Coach Berner's workout sessions and whatnot really helped. But when it comes down to it, it's just Annie being more comfortable, with herself on the floor and with her teammates, and she opened up a lot, and I knew that was in there. And then seeing her be comfortable, doing crazy dances on the sideline and just being herself, really, and the team totally accepting that is really what made the difference for her. And the move from her sophomore, from her freshman year. And then, the development, our passing was very good. And to be able to run a middle offense the way we do, our passing has to be good, and Elena's got to be able to hold blockers, and obviously she's a whiz at that. So it's a combination of a lot of things.
Now, looking at the class of newcomers, you've got Emma Brand, Jen Eller, Alex LaPlante, Emmy Noyd. I know it's going to be tough competition to see the floor, but what can that class of newcomers bring to the table?
Yeah, it's a pretty special class of kids. Yeah, there's a lot of physical talent in there and some pretty impressive resumes, but what we're so pumped about is that every one of these kids has walked into our gym and all of our girls are like, man, they're really good people. Like, they're really fun to be around. There's no egos there. There's no, they're very self-motivated in terms of workouts and pushing themselves to be the best they can be. But they also know what they're getting into. They're not going to come in and step on toes, but they're going to come in and push. And that's a really cool thing to be able to say about a class. All four of the girls you mentioned, they all have a shot, at playing, because we've got a lot of open spots, especially along that back row. But most importantly is the level of depth and competition they're going to bring to the floor in our program every day in practice. So, we have a lot of options, and that's a really cool place to be.
The team's win total's gone up the last few years. You made the national tournament this past year, and I know a lot of people inside the program are already talking about they want to get to Sioux City this year and take another step forward.
Sure.
How refreshing is it to hear that that's what their goal is, and I mean, how hard it
it's really interesting in that, I'm totally okay talking about those kind of things. It's one of the things that I think Nebraska volleyball did so impressively last year is they weren't afraid to talk about making the Final Four in Omaha last year, and they didn't try to brush it under the rug or don't talk about it, it's bad luck or whatnot. We're saying that's what we want to do. Now the flip side of that is everybody, what's your goals for the season and whatnot, and we don't really sit down and we need this many wins or we want to be ranked this in the country or whatnot. It's just a matter of we know what we're capable of and we want to get there. So every day we're going in trying to get better, and we believe if we take care of the process, treat each other the right way, and work to get better every day, those type of results type things will take care of themselves.
As far as the non-conference schedule, maybe you can analyze that a little bit and how that prepares you for a tough GPAC season. You got a cool trip to Montana where they get to have fun and play some good competition there.
Well, like I said, every year we've tried to take a pretty major trip with our varsity and with our seniors, kind of as it's a reward for all the work they put in over the summer and the camps and all the different projects we do throughout the year. And then it does help in recruiting to say, hey, come play with us, and you're going to get to play, take some cool trips in addition to just being part of a cool volleyball family. But this year going up to Montana, we're going to see some really good teams up there with Rocky Mountain and some of the others. There's really good volleyball up there, so we'll hit some national parks on the way and whatnot, and on the way home. But really, this is a big competition for us very early in the year. Bulldog Bash is going to be really cool this year as we've got some D2s coming in, and that's we're trying to move that tournament in that direction, so it's kind of an NAIA D2 mix, and there's some people that are really excited about that for this year and in the future if we can expand it a little bit. Bellevue's back on the schedule. They're always a great program. Peru is on the rise. We play them very early on, and then that first Saturday, 8 days after we move in, we're playing Waldorf here on campus. So we've got some pretty good matches, and then we go down to Benedictine early in the season too to try to avenge what happened against them last year. So our friends down there will be waiting in the weeds for us.